Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a look at the damage. So yesterday on the S&P, what a bloody move that was. What a week it's been. I mean, look at the state of it. Bang all the way down, bang all the way up. I mean, that was a beast bounce, wasn't it? Look at the state of that. 9% bounce. 9% bounce on the S&P. Unbelievable. We have made a higher low, to be fair with you, we have made a higher low. I don't know how much we can read into that. There's no bull div or anything like this over here on the daily. Obviously, the weekly is Rex City as well. We do have bullish divergence on the money flow index, though, if it's something to talk about, but it's nothing amazing, but it is definitely something to talk about. It could be reversal time, and it could be. Honestly, it really honestly could be reversal time. I'm not saying that it definitely is, but it could be. Right? Could being the operative word. Bitcoin up 2% at the moment, still hanging on the 50 exponential moving average as it did in the previous consolidation last year, which was marking the absolute low. Previously, we've had this big, chaotic, catastrophic super dump down around here as well, didn't we? In the last bull market where we ricocheted from the 50 exponential. So we are sitting around those areas. It does exist. Although nothing really to write home about when it comes to any switching of momentum and no bull dip taking place here on the weekly. Nothing like that. So that's unfortunate. Daily, however, definitely different. We've got bullish divergence, regular bull div on these long-term differences over here. So we've got from March to basically where we are right now. So a month's worth of bull div. We have got a death cross, which is sitting at 86,600. That's where your 200 simple is, 87,000. About 86,000 for the 50 as well. And we've got an incoming exponential death cross coming in around 85,500. So it does sort of ask to be pumped into. That's basically what the situation usually incurs. Death cross retest, big bounce into this area, and then sort of bounce back, rejection basically, down to the next area on the chart, which for us is going to be around 71, 72,000. There's no way around that. That is the situation. Now let's have a look at Ethereum. For what it's worth, we'll have a look at Ethereum. Basically bleeding out, basically just sort of dying on these on every time frame that you can see, without any signs of reversal whatsoever. Yeah, I mean we are coming quite close down to the bear market lows, that $1,000 zone. If we get it, we get it. If we don't, we don't. But at the moment, there doesn't seem to be any evidence to suggest that we won't get it. It does look like it wants to drip down to those lower levels. The 4-hourly is playing out some bullish divergence. This is some regular bull div where you'll be looking for rejection around 1,500, 1,570, maybe 1,680, maybe even the full-on death cross all the way up towards 2,000. That'd be nice. Everyone would bounce as a result of that. Should we hold out for it? I don't know. I mean, still, it does feel like a bear market now, doesn't it? But as far as the criteria for Bitcoin is concerned for a bear market, it's not yet been met. So just remember that. And also, everything's got to be relative to what it is that you're holding and why you're holding it and from where. For me, obviously, allowing Bitcoin to sort of retrace down to even into the 50s is still no big deal. Never a big fan of selling Bitcoins. I haven't really been a big fan of selling Bitcoins for a long period of time. Remember, the big bulk of the Bitcoins I bought were 4,000, and then the last bulk I bought was 21,000. So, as far as seeing a retrace, even if it comes down to 50 or even 40,000, it's still no big deal, to be honest. No big deal. I've effectively been shaken out is what would happen. Don't really think that that's a wise idea. I honestly think that there is a good chance of a turnaround on all of this, despite what everybody and everything on the internet suggests. If I listened to everybody else, I wouldn't be a trader. I would be a copier. I would be a sheep, basically. So, the total market cap is not looking happy at all, and that is a bit of an issue there. That is honestly a bit of a problem. We've come down below the previous high, so we've broken that, so that doesn't look good. So even though Bitcoin is still hanging on to the 50, the total market cap is not. So we have to respect what it is that we see there. Bit of a problemo, I have to say, a bit of a problemo. But, have we seen anything like this before? We did. We did see problems down here on the consolidation, so, this emphasized Bitcoin's move. Bitcoin held its 50. This more or less closed above the 50 most times, but there was occasions where we came down below it. as we are right now, if we were to measure these moves, so that wick, let's just measure them out for just for morbid curiosity. That was a 13% move down, lower than the 50, and this was a 7.5. And currently we are 7.5, and the wick was about 12. So similar, basically, it is kind of similar. But this was expected, and this has kind of accelerated a little bit surprisingly in a bit of a bear markety fashion. That's right. I'm saying the words, aren't I? Don't say it. Don't say it. But you do have to consider it at some point. Let's have a look at the Dixie. Dixie's still continuing to do what we expected it to do, at least. So the Dixie is still falling in the same sort of speed and direction that we expected. So that's one thing to go for, at least. And that's definitely something. I think a lot of what we're waiting for is Fed policy now. Is the Fed going to react? And if they do, does it actually give the market legs or does it not? That is the hope and expectation, I believe, isn't it, for everybody? Now, take it for what it's worth. Yeah, it's not very good right now. Obviously, everything's pretty poor right now, but it does lead us into what could be an amazing opportunity in not too far away from where we're at right now, if not already. It depends on your time frame, your criteria, what it is that you're looking for out of this market. If you're looking for fast gains, you might be able to get something like that if you're able to snipe a position from a decent pullback. If you're looking for a long-term position, I don't really see a problem with any of this even now. It's hard to expect a turnaround when you see nothing but red, but they do happen. Markets don't just fall down to zero. They can fall down pretty fast, but they won't fall down to zero. Especially if rates get dropped. This is where the markets will rally. Believe it or not, recessions do offer amazing opportunities. Last thing we could look at, the old dominance chart still sitting at that major resistance, basically. That is the case. We've got the money flow index still peaking all the way up here at 86, which is, like I said yesterday, the third highest it's ever been. We do like to see turnarounds from overheated reads on money flow index, and when we have a read like this, you would say, all right, odds are in favour of rejection and a move all the way down, even when we're talking about bear markets. I know it's crazy, but it's true. I think that more or less wraps it up right now. I mean, much is in the court of old men at the table. We are waiting to see what it is that they do to either further crash or to stimulate this market. I think with oil dripping down now significantly, we should expect only good things from inflation. I honestly think that this is one of those gifts, isn't it? Really, similar to the gift that was given to us, with the March crash, 2020, and what happened shortly after that. It was a bit of a gift. We're looking at this chart to gauge what's going to happen with inflation, and I'm telling you, this is the best gauge of inflation, generally speaking. And it's going down, and inflation ought to continue to go down. And with the markets also going down, and the dollar also going down, then raising rates is not a good idea. Lowering rates, it's pretty much your only option. Even if you're not doing it to stimulate the economy, you're doing it because you're trying to match inflation. Inflation is clearly at this point right now heading to 2% and maybe even lower. You need to sort that out. Basically, you can't have a deflationary environment. That's not what anybody wants. It's got to be at 2%. If it's positive, then it's no good. It's got to be. You've got to have some form of inflation. 2%. At this rate, it's going to be at 2% within the next couple of months, guaranteed. And so that in itself is enough reason to lower those rates. Do they lower them to 2%? Do they lower them to match the inflation rate? This is going down. Okay, you can tamper with those rates. Anyway, I'm probably reading too much into what I'm seeing here, but it generally is the case. A downtrend on oil equals a downtrend in inflation. Offers nothing more than opportunity to lower those rates. And that's the bet, isn't it? That's the gamble. That's what it's all been about, really. Lower those rates, right? So, what are you gonna do? I picked up some recently. I've picked up some XMR, some XVG. I'm gonna do a little bit of a shopping list, I think, today as well. Now that I'm back home, I can, depending on if my kids allow for it, maybe I can have a look at some other opportunities. Always picking up Atom, I have to say. Always picking up Atom for this long-term scenario. That's been almost a weekly or bi-weekly buy for any time I make a significant profit. Slide some of that profit into Atom. But other than that, though, we'll have a look on the live stream tonight to see if anything tickles our fancy. But yeah, it's all about the medium to long term really on this at the moment. And these, although we're probably not at the low, and we could easily go much lower. It depends on where your targets are. But yeah, Bitcoin could bounce out of this and into September's high. It could easily do that, and I wouldn't at all be surprised to see it do that. Remember, when sentiment is a certain way, everybody feels a certain way. It might not always be the right thing. Most people, it has to be this way. Most people have to be wrong, for the minority to benefit out of the markets. So we'll leave it there. Good luck trading, if that's of course what it is that you want to try and do here, or sitting and waiting is also a good strategy as well. The previous local top for Bitcoin is at 71 to 72,000. That does offer a major opportunity coming down to that area. And if we lose that area, it's around about the upper 60s, $66,000 is also a major opportunity, marking the candle body high of the last bull market. We're spoiled for choice when it comes to supports, I have to say. The problem is that the pullback to those areas would be relatively dramatic. I do like what I see generally, and I don't really have too much of a problem entering into these markets at these levels. It's worth waiting for. Like we were saying with XRP, we've been saying it for a long time. Not really interested in buying any of this. But this area was the first area where I would consider buying. Now I haven't, obviously, because I've already got more than enough. But we have entered the first, or got to the first major area on XRP, where I'd say, okay, the risk to reward is worth it. And look, we sort of bounced from that area also. So charts are being respected still. Even if we're looking at the momentum of this breakout, which is what we're kind of waiting for XRP, whether your money flow or your RSI, you're sort of looking at this continuous consolidation. Once you break out from here, straight up to a new all-time high for something like XRP. And it wouldn't be shocking either. We've seen it all before. What would it be to move up to this level? 66% move in a day. You've seen that before. We've all seen that. And, it can happen in a day. So it's up to you where you place your orders and what your expectation are and what time frame they are for those orders. But just remember, bounces, when they come, they can be significant. And, in this environment we're in right now, deals are getting made and things are being done and rah. It's a bit touch and go, but things can change very quickly. But from a technical perspective, some of these charts, basically XRP and Bitcoin, have not broken down on the high-term timeframes, confirming any kind of bear market. It's been a bit of a sharp move, but we see sharp moves all the time in crypto. And we don't quite see them quite as sharp as they are in stocks, but it's still holding on to areas that would require a V-shaped recovery. Believe it or not, we've seen it all before. Pow! Pow! Seen it all before. So I'll leave it there. Nothing much more to say. See you on the live stream tonight. Links in the description below for the Patreon. Other than that, hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.